Before I could even ask myself what happened, I saw Adine walking out of the building and coming towards me. Adine, what did you do? Let's just go somewhere else. Okay. This isn't good, right? We walked away from the festival and sat down under a tree in the outskirts of town. As the competition was already nearly over, the darkness had already set in. Here should be good. So what made you reconsider? You were right about everything you said. When I was inside and I had a bit of time to cool off, I realized that I didn't want to do it like this, even if I'd have to wait another year. So how do you feel now? I know it was the right thing to do, but I can't help thinking that I just came so close. That I could have done it if it hadn't been for that stupid accident. You'll have another chance, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. Hey, stupid, look at the sky. Can you see that light? The one that looks a bit brighter than all the others? See, Adine. I looked up and saw many celestial bodies lighting up the sky. One of them was noticeably brighter than all the others. Yeah. I usually practice in the evening and stay until it's dark so I can see the stars pretty often. I noticed something about that one. It moves. So, if I'd done the Adine storyline in the initial run instead of hip-hopping between Remy and the others, Anna and the others, I would have seen this, and I wonder if I would have picked up on exactly what that is. How does it move? It looks pretty stationary to me. You won't notice just by looking at it, but over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that it's changed positions when comparing it to the other stars. It can't be a star then. Stars don't move. They have an office in one of the cities that watches these kind of things. I called them about it a while ago. What did they say? It's just an asteroid passing by. It's even been on the news a few times. It makes it sound pretty important. Yeah, it's a big one apparently. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be able to see it without a telescope. So they think it's dangerous. Alright, so if I had done this the first time, I wouldn't even have to put two and two together because Adine is basically just telling me. Why would it be? I don't know, I could hit the moon or something like that. They assured me it's not going to happen. They say calculating the paths of celestial bodies is a very complicated science, not really an exact one. They know it's not going to hit the moon, but they're watching it to make sure it passes safely. Not that just watching it would make a difference. They don't really know anything more. Apparently, they've also been underfunded. The council says they don't need to waste people's time and money looking into the sky all day. Which is basically what's happening to NASA right now, is my understanding. That's strange, don't you think? It used to be a pretty important job, but over time, the funding got less and less until it only this token office in our biggest city was left. I see. It's such a shame, since the whole institution was based on our creation story. In what way? In one of the stories, our creator told us to watch the skies.
Watch the skies, traveler.
I'm sorry, I had to. How religious are you, really? What exactly do you mean? I mean, I know she was messing with the fortune cards and stuff earlier. Dragons have these myths about humans. How many of them do you actually believe are true? Oh, I believe all of it. I just love reading the stories, theories, and all that. Why's that? Well, I think there's a lot we can learn from it. Much of our society is based on it, including our laws and traditions. Can I ask you a question? Sure, go ahead. What would you think if I told you that I'm a time traveler from the future? Okay, so had I done the Adine story the first time, this wouldn't have happened. Because this is part of the information we've learned since then. Okay, don't joke about something like that. Why not? Because I believe you. Besides, if you really were a time traveler, I think you'd come from the past. Like, from the time that we were created. Really? Why's that? Because that's the only time in our history where we know of humans ever being here. If you came from the future, that would mean that humans were to show up at some point in our future history. And I'm not sure how or why that would happen. Wouldn't that mean that I was your creator? Well, not necessarily. There could have been other humans around, right? Your myths only mention one, though. Yeah, but I think we've met them. her, I guess. What's her name? I don't remember her name. The administrator. But other people speculate, trying to find explanations for those old myths. Maybe there were more humans around and they just died, or their creator rebelled and killed them. Others say that they fled across the ocean. We really don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I like reading about all the theories and trying to piece together the puzzle myself. That's why I want to visit the underground building we found. Some of the theories are quite out there. Are we going to do that now then? Is Reza there now? Again, I don't know if this underground building is the same one where the shootout happens at the end. Like what? For example, one says that humans are really aliens who came from a different planet. They created us for some reason and then just vanished again. What would they do that for? Maybe it's an experiment and they're testing us. Some say they're always watching us from up there somewhere with a giant mothership that maybe one day they'll return when they're ready to join them. I feel like Adine would like the letter from Marble 3 video from Depression Turtle. Formerly known as Exerbia. That'll be pretty out there, I'd say. Told you so. What about the humanity you come from now? Why don't you tell me more about your world? I don't like talking about that. It's much prettier here. I don't believe you. It's the truth. I believe it when I see it with my own eyes. I'd love to visit your world. I don't think it would be a good idea to visit us right now. Knowing our history with dragons and other such things that are not like humans, the other hominids and such, I don't know if it would be a good idea for Adine to visit at any time. Just saying. Do you know what our world is like? Are there any rumors about that? Not really. There hasn't been much speculation about that yet. Of course, we're curious, though. Next time, we want to send one of our ambassadors into your world to make it even and all that. I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Don't be so negative. I'm sorry. It's not up to me to determine the best course of action. I'm just a lowly ambassador. Not quite as lowly as a waitress with nothing more than high aspirations. Maybe it's time for me to go home. I'd walk you, but I guess it'd be faster if you flew. Nah, I'd rather not without the bandage. Are you serious? Are you going to do your performance like that? And you were going to do your performance like that. I know, I shouldn't have tried. You don't have to bring that up again. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, I think you made the right decision in the end. Thank you. Shall we go then? Okay, so we're home. There we are. Do you want to come in for a bit? We could, would be a shame if you had to come all this way for nothing. Alright. She opened the door, wiping her feet on the doormat before she went inside. Can I offer you something to drink, maybe? No thanks, I'm good. How about some TV? It could be interesting. I haven't watched TV in ages, and I don't have one in the apartment. You're right. You've got a pretty decent apartment, but they didn't provide a TV. I wonder why. Maybe they wanted to avoid culture shock or something like that. You've got a shelf full of books, though. Why would books be fine, but not a TV? I suppose they give me the books, they know what I'm going to read, but on TV, they can't really regulate the content I'm going to see. At least if TV works the same way as ours used to. That's true. I feel like she should be questioning the use of past tense in this chapter more than she is. Maybe they just thought your time would be better spent elsewhere. I guess. If they didn't want me to watch TV, they certainly never told me. Actually, there's a series on right now that could be pretty interesting to you. What is it? Well, I'm not going to tell you. Do you want me to put it on or not? Okay. Adine turned on the TV and a brief flicker appeared on the screen before it was filled with the image of a house from the outside. Well, that doesn't look unusual. Just wait a bit. The camera cut to the inside of the home while the chattering of small talk could be heard. Then some figures entered the living room on screen. They were grotesque, malformed creatures with rather cartoony proportions, covered in odd lumps all over their body. They all shared the same odd skin tone. It was clear to me that these figures were played by actors in obviously fake, bulky costumes that reminded me of mascots. What are those? Humans. Humans. That's the name of the species. I've been talking about species too much lately. It's typically a sitcom about the contemporary family as we would expect it, but the twist is everybody is human. And then I realized why I hadn't been able to identify the creatures on the screen as humans. They were all naked. Since the dragon's concept of clothing was different, they all had applied their own principles when creating the series. It was quite bizarre to see a family sitcom where all the characters were in obviously fake costumes and also happened to be naked. Do you like it? It's one of my favorites. While it is a sitcom, it manages to address some serious and deep issues fairly often, which I don't think would be as effective if we weren't watching it through the lens of this alternate reality. This one isn't a bad episode, but it's already nearly over. I guess there's no point in watching the ending. True. By this point, the credits were already rolling, and Adine turned the TV off again. What do you think? Let's just say that if a human looking like that suddenly showed up in our world, people would probably run away screaming. They don't look that bad. Sure, it's impressive if we consider what they had to work with, but there's a few things they got wrong. Like what? For one, humans mostly wear clothing, and secondly, we don't have tails. Those are just small details. The series is still good, though. Is it popular? For sure, many people love it. I see. I hope they aren't too scared of me when they see how different I am, though. I didn't run away screaming when I met you, did I? True. Now that you're already here, there's something you could help me with. What is it? Well, it'd be a huge favor to ask, and it's kind of embarrassing. Just say it. The worst I can do is say no. How should I say this? It's about my shower. I get pretty dirty from practice sometimes, especially from the bad landings, and recently the detachable shower head broke. That usually wouldn't be much of a problem, but with this injury I can't reach a few places of my own. Adine! It's already not ideal having to manage everything with my wings, but now it's even harder. You want me to scrub your back? I guess you could put it that way. Told you it would be embarrassing. Alright, what happens if I say no? I haven't big time blown anybody off in this story so far. At least not that I don't think I have. I might have for Remy. That might have contributed to some problems later on down the road. I can't remember. I don't think I did. But I mentioned, I know I mentioned this before. I have a hard time being terrible in video games, and I do not want to, like, I don't want to kick anybody out. I don't want to tell anybody, no, I won't help them. It's, Alright, so I'm glad to help. Thanks! This way. I followed her, entering the rather large bathroom. The shower is huge. I wouldn't mind having one of these. This isn't just a regular dragon-sized shower. It's made specifically for a flyer like me. We need room to stretch our wings. Just think of the possibilities. She took off her goggles and stepped into the roomy walk-in shower. After pressing a button on the wall, a shower of water started flowing from the shower head mounted on the wall. Again, word repetition. Wall, shower, wall, water. And so it goes. She moved around a bit, stretching this and that way in order to cover her whole body in the water. Soon afterwards, she pressed the button on the wall again, and the water flow stopped. She turned to show me her back, wing splayed. Alright, now that I can see the entire tail, I'm afraid I don't see where you get banana from. The soap and sponge should be right there. I took a sponge that wasn't unlike the ones I knew from back home and added some soap from a rather large bowl. It seemed to me that each species had their own challenges that needed to be overcome when it came to daily tasks like this one, emphasized by all the different design choices when it came to everyday items. The design of everyday things. Would be an interesting read. I forget who wrote that. I've never actually read it, but I've had it recommended to me. You can start with the wings and work your way down from there. Sure thing. I couldn't help making a joke to ease the tension a bit when I put the sponge on her muzzle. Hey, it looks like you've got something there. Oh wait, those are just your stripes. Stupid! Stop that! Sorry, I couldn't resist. Good job. Now I got soap in my nose. That's the absolute worst. Actually, as things that go in your nose go, actually, orange juice probably is worse. It's not like that. It's not that I'd like to have soap in my nose, but there are some things that I'd like to have less. I started scrubbing her wings. Now I could see them up close and fully extended. I found them to be quite impressive. You know, I actually tried to do that before. What do you mean? Washing off those stripes. Why? Well, I was just a child back then. You know how kids are. They make fun of everything. Though, I don't know if human children are the same way. They are, trust me. Don't press too hard there. That's the shoulder. That's the injured shoulder. I'll be careful. Eventually, I reached her lower back, and while I was watching the particular spot on her left side, I could see her leg twitch slightly. You ticklish there. I guess you noticed. Oh, that was one of the questions in the first meeting, wasn't it? I don't remember what the answer was. I don't remember if I actually selected that option, because most of the time when in that scene, I would just skip through to the end. But I guess that's the answer. In case I was wondering, which I wasn't until now. What happens if I do this? I repeated my ministrations, moving the sponge in circles over that particular spot. Hey, stop that! She started squirming, and suddenly her tail whacked around and hit me in the face, causing me to stumble and fall over backwards. Are you okay? I guess I deserved that. Well, if you tickle the dragon, you get the tail, apparently. The forked tip of her tail was still hovering inches from my face. Its peculiar shape reminded me of something, and I couldn't help but grab it and hold it out like a telephone. I was gonna say a crescent moon, but sure, whatever. Hello? Hello? What are you doing? I told you that we're 5 years old in this story. I think your phone isn't working. Stop being silly. Alright, I'm nearly done anyway. I resumed my scrubbing. By now, only her tail was left. Not being entirely sure about my technique, I moved the sponge over the tail's whole length in small circles. When I was nearly done, I noticed a low rumble emanating from her, reminding me of what an oversized cat's purr might sound like. Are you purring? Suddenly, her expression changed as she looked over her shoulder. Oh, are you done? You should take a step back if you don't want to get hit by the water. After I left the shower again, she pressed a button on the wall and the water resumed once more. She only stood under it briefly and moved around a bit until the water had completely washed off the suds. When she returned to the water again, I realized that it didn't cling to her much at all. After she shook herself off a bit, she stepped out again nearly dry. Thanks, I really needed that. You're welcome. It's probably getting late for you, and I already held you up for this long. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's already dark outside. I guess that took longer than I thought. I'm not supposed to go outside this late. You're right. We were advised by the police to stay inside after nightfall because of everything that's been going on. For me, this is even more important. We don't know if there's anyone out there who might want to target me. I suppose they'll just have to spend the night here then. Guess so. This is going on long and there's not much cut out. Am I gonna want to cut that into 2 parts again? I guess I will. With that in mind, that has been Angels with Scaly Wings. My name is Stupid. In the next part, I will be talking to Kevin and seeing what Draconian College looks like. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later.
Thank you.